Hey everybody, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. I am here for another seasonal ink exploration. I basically went through all of my inks that I currently own and thought, which ones are the best ones that are going to represent spring? And I think I went a little bit crazy because I have 11 different inks that I'm going to swatch for you today. This is in my Hobonichi A5 notebook with 52 GSM Tomoe River paper, and I'm going to be swatching with my Speedball B nib. This is the size 0, and this is on my River City Penco nib holder. And then I will also be swatching with the Kakamori Steel nib, again on my River City Penco nib holder. Let's get started. The first ink I'm going to start with is Colorverse Brunch Date. Now, I know this isn't always the one that people think of when it comes to spring, but I like the orangey coral notes of this ink. And I had been looking for this ink for a really long time. Look at that. It's a dusty pink, but it is more coral than some of the other pinks that I have in my collection. And then I'm going to do the name of the ink. And I just realized I haven't actually used that ink in a pen yet. So it is time for me. So Brunch Date. And this is in the same color family as, let's say, Herbon Rue Donka. Gosh, my brain right now. It is just after 5:30 on a Friday that I'm filming this, and I just finished work. So my brain might be a little bit mushy. I really like this one because it is a softer, it looks more red on this paper actually, but it is kind of a softer reddish pink, and I really like that for spring. So Colorverse Brunch Date. The next ink is Herbon Rue d'Encre. So this was my, I believe, very first dusty pink ink, and I thought I need to swatch this next to Colorverse Brunch Date so that you can see the similarities and the differences between the two. But I like using both, and I would use this at any time of year. You can see how similar they are, but wait until they dry to see the differences. Now that I'm seeing it, the Rue d'Encre seems a little bit more muted than Colorverse Brunch Date, and Colorverse Brunch Date does look a little redder here. So we've got Herbon Rue, it's really hard to say, Rue d'Encre, and doing the line widths, make sure I have enough ink on my stainless steel nib so that you can compare. Yeah, you can definitely see this one is lighter than Colorverse Brunch Date. It's got a little bit more, I think, pink to it. This one definitely looks a little bit more red. But I mean, if you're writing with these in an extra fine nib, you can actually kind of see the differences in here. This one is lighter and a little bit more pink. This one is a little darker, a little bit more red. So that is Herbon Rue d'Encre. The next one in the kind of pinky purple family is Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. I had a full bottle of this, and I then was giving away so many samples of this that I only have enough left for a sample vial. So this one is more of a purple, and I really like this for spring, this more muted pinky mauve purple, really soft, really pretty, definitely in the right mood for spring. So this is Sailor Shikiori. This is one of my first Sailor inks, and I love it. Yozakura. The fact that I only have the sample size of it left kind of makes me want to hoard it, but it's just so pretty. This one's definitely a springy ink. Love this soft purple. So, Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. Next we have Sailor Ink Studio 273, and I think some people would be split on this because maybe some people see this as a fall ink. I see it more as, because it's one of those chroma shaders, I feel like it's one of those transition inks, because spring is like a transition season, transitioning from winter to summer. And I like this ink because you're transitioning from like a brown to a dusty pink. And that's why I really enjoy this ink. On a side note here, I'm testing out a new microphone and I've got it currently pinned to my shirt. So the last thing I want is for you to hear the sounds of my shirt. Sailor Ink Studio 273. And just look at the chromo shading that's happening here. Really lovely. And so far, this isn't something that would be difficult for me to write with a fine or an extra fine nib. I feel like this ink is more representative of what spring is as a season. It starts off kind of dull because of winter basically killing everything. And then you've got the hints of pink there, which to me represent spring coming out. I'm getting very, very metaphorical here. So, Sailor Ink Studio 273. The next ink is Ferris Wheel Press Buttered Popcorn. Now, some people would see this as more summer, but I wanted to include this in spring because in spring you have, Easter and you have the baby chicks coming out, and this color just reminds me of just the baby chicks and Easter. Like, look at how bright and cheerful that color is. Really pretty. I'm being very, very, very careful with this bottle because 1, this ink isn't being produced anymore, and 2, I am liable to spill. Ferris wheel press buttered popcorn. And just taking a little bit there. Oh, and I've already got some on my finger. Oops. So, so pretty. And again, on another side note here, just because I class an ink as a seasonal ink, like a summer or winter or fall ink, doesn't mean I limit myself to using that ink in just that season. I will use any ink in any season if I feel like using it. So that is Ferris Wheel Press Buttered Popcorn. The next ink is Diamine Amazing Amethyst. I really love this purple because it's one of those purples that just feels happy to me. There's some purples that are a little bit darker, a little bit more mysterious. Oh, and I'm doing the wrong thing here. But this purple to me just feels like spring, rebirth. Look at that. I love the base color of this. And actually, when I just emptied or washed out my Speedball B nib, there are some hints of green in that. And I think I can kind of tell with the way that ink went down. So this is Diamine Amazing Amethyst. I really like these jewel toned colors. And this one, I think purples can do really well in any season, but I really like the pinky undertones of this particular ink. And I think it matches well with my nib holder. So, Diamine Amazing Amethyst. The next ink is one of the first inks that I ever purchased. This is a Diamine Meadow, and this is an ink that I try to use every spring, but I also use this for a lot of my paintings. This is a really good, a really good green to use for paintings because it's just a safe, good green for spring. It's a very well-behaved ink, and it's got good flow, but it's just beautiful. I currently have this in one of my inked pens, my Just Turning Swirly Joyful Kismet. And that has an architect nib, so it's fun to see the shading properties of this ink. Like, look at that. It's a lovely spring green. There's some greens that are darker that are more suited for fall, but this one is definitely a spring green. So that is Diamine Meadow. This next green I also had to include, even though it is very similar to Diamine Meadow. It is Pilot Iroshizuku Chiku Rin. Again, this one is another really springy green, and I've had this in my collection for a few years now. But I love this because it is definitely one that just feels like spring for me. And I love swatching it next to, oops, what is that from? It's going to bother me. I love swatching it next to Diamine Meadow because now you can see the differences. They're very similar, but this one is definitely lighter with more yellow in it. Okay, I'm going to try and get that out. Whatever. Whoops. I'm kind of sad that that little spot is there, but I can't do anything about it. That's okay. So this is, ooh, very wet Pilot Iroshizuku. I think it's very wet because I didn't dry it off as well. Chiku Rin. Let's try that again. Dry off that Speedball bee nib so that we only get the ink and not a whole bunch of water. But it is a very wet ink. And again, this is one I love using for paintings. But I love seeing the two next to each other because I always think, oh, they're too similar. But now that I swatch them out like this, it's really nice to see them like that. Okay, I'm just trying to cover that up. All right. Okay, so Pilot Iroshizuku Chiku Rin. The next ink is a newer ink to my collection, and it hasn't even been put into a pen yet, but I really love it. It is Diamine Soft Mint. This one, I think this teal turquoise is really great for spring and Easter, and just look at that. Like, how fun is that color? That's gorgeous. I'm excited to put this into a pen, and I think I know exactly what pen I'm putting it in. Either my Franklin Christoph, the Van Ness exclusive, or my Narwhal in Turquoise Dream. So this is Diamine Soft Mint. I really like just that color. It's just so cheerful and happy. And again, Diamine inks are fantastic. Most of them are really well behaved, good flow, great shading, and compared to other inks, relatively inexpensive. So, Diamine Soft Mint. Oh, love that one. Okay, 2 more inks to go here. Next one is another Diamine one. I'm counting how many Diamines I have in here. I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, not bad. 4. Diamine Celadon Cat. I like this one because of the more muted grayish blue. Now, I know some people would probably say this is more for winter, but I think this is a great spring ink just because of how light it is. I think of spring inks as more pastel colors, but also bright. That feels counterintuitive, that spring is also bright but muted. Bright and pastel. But this is what I felt like with spring. I was looking through my collection and I thought, nope, that feels like spring to me. So Diamine Celadon Cat. I really love the chromo shading aspects of this ink as well, because if you watch it, there's some hints of pink in here too. I really like it. For me, this is not too light. It's perfectly legible in a fine and extra fine nib. I know some people have some troubles with this, but I really like this ink. So this is Diamine Celadon Cat. And last but not least, we have Andorelium Banded King Shoemaker Butterfly Blue. That is a mouthful. But I really like this blue because it's bright and punchy. Now, I wouldn't have normally chosen a blue like this, but look at how bright that is. Isn't that fun? Although some people would probably call this a summer ink. But I like how just joyful that is. And those are colors that you could see on like Easter baskets and stuff. So, gosh, I need a lot of room to write the name of this. So Andorelium Banded King, Shoemaker, Butterfly Blue. Okay, I'm actually really happy with this stainless steel nib because I can write smaller with it, whereas with the brass nib, it always felt like there was so much ink on there that made my writing look like a puddle. Oh, I love that blue. I really like that blue. And you know that I don't have a lot of blues in my collection, so when I get a blue that I like, I'm going to keep it. So that is Andoryllium, Banded King, Shoemaker, Butterfly Blue. So there are my current inks for spring. I think it's just such a lovely color palette. Yes, I do have a lot of pinks there and a few purple. Well, actually, there's duplicates of the pinks and the purples and the greens and the blues, but I just love the overall mood and feel that this color palette gives. What are your thoughts on spring inks? I know they're completely different to the fall ink palette that I did a few months ago, but I love seeing just the changes in seasons and moods as well. All right, but that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have yourselves a great day.